one of the pataraks, right? When your mother was alive and you needed water, right? She gave you water, or your grandmother.
She's still here.
That's right. So now if your grandmother's on the other side and you needed water, you call on your grandmother to guide you to water. This is how we thought. Somebody disconnected us from that and gave us Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. No one gets to the Father except through Him. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. This is what they gave us. And said, all that other stuff that y'all was doing in Africa, paganism. Stay away from it. Y'all was backwards back then. And you'll find that most of our people who are religious in Africa, it is hard to break that spell. It is very difficult to break that spell because these demons were very strategic. They knew what they were doing. They targeted your genes and they targeted your mind.
And the woman.
Yeah, your genes, both ways, and your mind. Your genetics, your genes, and your mind on purpose. That's how they got in. There's a book that our math teacher wrote a long time ago called Let's Set the Record Straight. And in that book, he spoke about tying into the vines. You know what I'm saying? And what that means is these Indo-Europeans or Africans that came into Africa had an agenda to tie into the vines, right? Or tie into the genetics of the people that were there. And then later on, they perpetrated themselves as being the true Egyptians.
Right.
But I know good and well these Turks and these Arabs who came in later are not real Egyptians. Yeah, Hyksos, which is one kind of dynastic period. But even after all that, when the Ptolemy dynasty came in and others came in, then you had the Arab invasion, then you had the Turks. You had all these sub-races that came in, and now they call themselves Egyptians. Okay. It's just like in America. You know what I'm saying? The Native American versus the Americans. The Americans came here, slaughtered, killed the Native Americans, and supplanted themselves as the indigenous people. That's why it trips me out, man. And I do this all the time. I'm watching these politicians on CNN, right? And they speak about, oh, Obama is allowing the immigrants to come in, the illegal aliens.
No, right? It's like...
I'm like, whoa, let's look at you have you looked in the mirror lately? Where are you from? You're a what? European?
Right.
That's right. We call you Euro-American. That's where you're from.
Right.
You have nothing to do with this. You're the alien who came here, you know what I'm saying? And put the restrictions on who can come in and who cannot. Some nerves, you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't, those are the kind of things. And you have people sitting there, that's right, American way, it's all good.
Black people doing that.
Absolutely.
Look at them like...
That's because they're black on the outside and white on the inside. They're a living Oreo cookie, literally. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. They have 6 ether planted in a 9 ether body. Again, 9 mind. You are what you think of all day long. You shape and fashion your reality. You know what I'm saying? As you think, so shall it be. Because you thought to come here, right? And you're going to think when you're going to leave. And you're going to move and you're going to leave. And that's the reality of the situation. And I'll take the next question at this time.
I want to ask a question based on her.
Okay, thank you. That brother's late.
There's a brother online wants to know something along the line what she was saying, brother named Stilo Scientist.
Still the scientist?
Stilo Scientist. He said in the previous
brother.
document stated that we chose to come here, like in the case of Harut and Murad.
Of who?
Harut and Murad, they chose to come here, they didn't want to follow.
You talk about those 2 angels that came down here that was seduced by that?
Come over the well of Zamzam for...
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
He said he wants to know has that been updated in the hereafter doctrine, was still the case.
Has what? We chose to come here?
We chose to come here.
Okay. Okay, there's a Patarak I like to link to. I can't remember the name of it right now. That ties with that. It speaks about, maybe somebody in the audience can help me with that. In this Patarak, he speaks about how you had beings who resided in Sirius C, right? Who elevated to such a state where they no longer had to incarnate again. 18? Thank you very much. Help from the audience. And see, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it addresses what ties into the conscious being, how you know, to be physical is a need on the other side, right? There's something, you know, and I don't want to interpret it as my opinion. It's just based upon what I've been picking up. But the state in which you reside and your need to be here is why you're here. Until you burn it out or you grow past it, and then you'll return to the state from whence you come. But I'm going to go into that. You said 18, right? Okay. I really want to read this right here first. It really touches on what we've been discussing. But I'm going to try to find this other one first. Okay. Here we go, I see. But before I go into it, I have to read this. This is page 8, verse 36. You must become balanced, genetically linked to your own genes, not other races, but with your own resonance, frequency of your own Egyptian, African ancestors linked to the universe and beyond. And then and only then will you be able to understand the information you are receiving. If not, at a conscious level, what you eat, wear as color, things you alter on your body, who you exchange bodily fluid with, kiss, sweat with, sing with, or along with. All these can move the dial, and like the dial on a radio or channel on TV, the slightest shift and you get white noise or off your own station, so you can't hear nor see the Etherians. The superconscious level is where you find Pahu, the oversoul, the seat of Wu-nuwaupu, out in the very universe itself, linked to nature. Here, and you have become a part of nature. The universal bank of Wu-nuwaupu that is alive and growing and expanding all the time and in every conceivable dimension called mental. This whole system, the earth and its electromagnetic sphere, the universe and its dynamic energy, and you all interplay in a harmony of operation, properties. The cyclical nature of the universe as a whole, as already has been shown on numerous occasions to affect all living species. All are in tune with some frequency, not all the same. And I'm reading this so we can have a better understanding that we must be on our own frequency to be linked to our ancestors, to understand our true purpose of why we are here. This is page 16. Where's the brother? He left? Okay, this is page 16, verse 112. All of creation of life is life waves that pass down in vibration to Cheminu, afterwards underwater soundless, to Inias, come out on the land. And this right here is explaining the Egyptian story of creation. You have beings that came down here in the form of vibration to the waters, you know what I'm saying, to become or manifest as something. And then from the waters, known as the Agduads, or the 8 Agduads, that's right?
Right.
Right? And if you look at the walls on ancient Egypt, they were perpetrated as reptilians, right? Onto the Enneads, which is coming from the land onto the waters. Now, to begin, it goes back about 9 billion years to another abode called Sirius star system. It had 3 major suns, Sirius A, Sirius A, Sirius B, and Sirius C. On to the last, Sirius C, that abode. Now this is the part that's going to tie into the brother's question. The beings had reached such a height that they did not need their vast technologies. Most of those beings were past the need of rebirth, and others of them were already transformed into Etherians. Going back to that conscious being, where you have beings that exist on that state, who must need to become physical to achieve whatever it is they have to achieve. Into Etherians, move on to the mental abode of existence. The necessity for its physical form or body on any vibrational level was below their needs. No need of a physical instrument to play the tone or sound of their music. Body was absolute. Because of the ability of the state inhabitants to participate their needs from Etherians or Anku. So, going back to the brother's questions, in this Wu-nuwaup now, we know on the state of Etherians to become physical it's like there's a need to sing or to express. Whenever he says singing, you're talking about expression. It's something that you must express on this side in order to return back to your pure state again, whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? Everybody here may be different, but everybody know that while we came here, some of us got trapped here. You know what I'm saying? And when we got trapped here, this became our reality. How I look, how I feel, what I gotta eat. You know what I'm saying? My social life. I must live once. Whatever it is, it became our reality. We became caught up in it and got away from our true purpose. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say don't enjoy yourself. By all means, enjoy yourself, enjoy life. But even the idea of enjoyment has been, what's the word called? Perverted. That's the word, perverted. That's the word I've been looking for. In other words, when you look at 9, perverted, it becomes a 6 to pull you lower and lower and lower in vibration, instead of you knowing that you have the ability to reach higher and higher. And that's your purpose. That's your goal, is to express what you have to do here. And when it's time, you'll be able to go, you know what I'm saying, when you're supposed to go. Let me go on. 116. After 9,000 more years, except for those beings, let me read this again, because this could be a little confusing, so I'm going to read this from 114. The necessity for a physical form or body on any vibrational level was below their needs. No need of a physical instrument to play the tone or sound of their music. Body was obsolete. Because of the ability of the state inhabitants to precipitate their needs from ethers, uncle. After 9,000 more years, except for those beings of that abode who lagged too far behind to attain transformation.
So where do you go to nothingness?
You would call it nothingness, but it is a state of existence that cannot be calculated, right, on this side. So they call it no thing. Something is, I'm able to number it. Hydrogen is 1, right? Before they realized that there were smaller particles in hydrogen, that was the lowest form of existence, right? They cannot weigh ether or pure ether. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the instruments to even do it while being physical. But we know through our intellect and through our 9 mind that those states exist, and they're a higher state of existence than this one. You know what I'm saying? So here he's explaining how those beings from Sirius C, some of them attained transformation and no longer had to become physical, while those who lagged behind did not attain transformation. Remember, when you read the dimensional shift, he's explaining how we have to attain transformation. This planet is going through a transformation, and we must be in tune with it, so when it happens, we'll transform along with this planet. On one sense. On another sense, we have to learn to revibrate, right, to reconnect with our ancestors, because our ancestors can only come down but so far. We must meet up with them. How do you meet up with them? You must learn your language. You must speak your tone. You must chant in your language. You must sing in your language. You must think, you know what I'm saying, in your tone. Or you must think as the way you're supposed to, getting away from their thought patterns. And that is a very hard thing to do when you're living in this state. You seem a little confused.
Well, when you say that, when I think of my ancestors, I think about like any of my family that's crossed over.
Tua.
Right?
Yes.
So when I think of me speaking the tones that I'm learning, the Wu-nuwaup tones, I'm like, They don't know them tongues. I mean, my grandma was a Christian, die-hard Christian, so I'm like, if I'm speaking these, how am I connecting to her? Because she would have thought that what I'm into was voodoo or what, you know what I mean? She didn't have that understanding for this information. She was limited with what she had.
I got you.
And she, in my opinion, she held very strong to that faith. You know what I mean?
You know what is funny about that? I have a grandmother, right? 96 years old. I moved in with her to take care of her. Love my grandmother, right? When I walk into the house, the very first thing I see on my right, that's right. Right behind me over the door, right? There's a white angel with a pitchfork stabbing a black angel who's on the ground, right? Reality. My grandmother lived in a lot of fear. She feared going to hell. She feared the devil's daughter is torturing her. It was a lot of things that was going on. It was a sad situation, and I was trying to explain as best as I can to my grandmother, you've been duped. You've been lied to. Grandma, wake up. No, that's not what's happening to you. You know what I'm saying? And every single day, my grandmother was devoted to waking up 6:30 in the morning, turn on the television, get on her knees, and do 9 Hail Marys. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so forth. She was a Christian, right? But she was devoted. It was her devotion that earned her her place. You know what I'm saying? In other words, how she lived her life because she did not know. You know what I mean? I cannot disturb that mindset, no matter what I tried to do. I had to come to that realization that that's what it was. But here's another reality. The moment you pass on, you're now in the realm of truth. You know you've been duped. Okay, there was no God waiting for me. There was no Jesus waiting for me. You know, there was Grandma Sue right there. Okay, you got it now. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you know what I'm saying?
So they will. So if
You have to understand.
if they held true to that faith, then when they get there, they'll be in what we call the knowing now. Now I know. So now I can connect with what I know.
Once you shed the physical, right? Once you shed the physical, once there's no longer distractions in front of you, what's there?
Reality.
Exactly. Reality. Reality is there. You know what I'm saying? Divine reality is there. You know, and I would say in a sense, you know what I'm saying? I say in a sense because it's another something else that comes with that I don't know enough about to really expound on. But the reality is, she will be your bridge from this side to the other. But now she exists in a different state. That's on a different vibration. You have to understand this. When we speak English, when we think in English, when we walk in English, when we act in English, right? That's still their tones, their vibration.
So it's foreign to our nature. Our
Exactly. So the only way your grandmother could really feel you is your sincerity. So if I pray in English sincere enough, they will feel you and will attempt to help to the best of their ability. But wouldn't it be stronger if you turn that dial to their station? Because that's all it is. They're now on a different station, and all you're doing is putting in the right kind of code to connect on that station. And guess what? The language is your love, your expression. You know what I'm saying? The words is the only thing the words is a means to express that devotion or that love or what you want to express. It's all singing. You understand? You know, when we get past away the confusion of language, you understand it for what it truly is. You know what I'm saying? This is why when we pray, you know what I'm saying, you must do it with conviction. You know what I'm saying? You must have a visualization and you must see it through in your mind's eye. You must know what you want to say and feel what you want to say, because that's the language that you're directing to your ancestors on that higher vibration. And the more we practice it, the stronger we'll become at what we do.
Isn't thought stronger than
Thought is stronger, but thought backed up by words is also stronger. Again, it's that dial. I could sit there and think of a table, right, all day. It's very strong. It's a thought. I thought of a table, right? But then if I take that pen and start drawing that table, that's still me in that table. Now, if I talk to somebody about that table and show them the table, you know what I mean? Now I'm getting that thought across to the other person. Then we start to build that table. So now it came from a thought to a reality on this side. You understand? So, you know, those who just sit around all day and just think themselves into a peanut butter sandwich, They're gonna starve for a long time. You better get up, get that knife out, you better make that peanut butter sandwich, and then say, thank you for the peanut butter sandwich, and eat it. You know what I'm saying? So it works a little different. When you start to understand the nature of it, it works differently. You know what I'm saying? Anybody else in the audience who have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, my question is when, like I went to school, so I started school this weekend, man. It was an English class, and then when they was teaching it, I was like, man, this thing, the whole English language is a whole lie and stuff like that. How do you deal with knowing that learning things from the books and then going in society and then you start to see all the lies and all that stuff? How do you deal with that, knowing that, all right, that like the English language is nothing but it's nonsense, it's like it's a big lie, like certain words, they say it means something else, but literally it's something different, like it's an illusion. So basically, you're thinking an illusion, you're walking, and you're acting an illusion because you just know this language, which is just babbling, it's basically, it doesn't make any sense, there's no logic to it. How do you deal with, like if you try to explain that, they look at it like, well, they say take it with a grain of salt. What I'm saying, no, I'm not.
They say what? I'm sorry?
Take it with a grain of salt, like I was.
Also, if it's better, put some salt on it and just eat it.
Yeah, just accept it. It's like, no, I'm not gonna do that, like how do you, deal with that?
You said, how do you deal with that as far as with,
Yeah, like, you start to realize certain things that's not real.
right,
So how do you deal with that?
how you deal with that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can understand your question. You mean like how to deal with it in the sense of how do you
You like,
teach it to people, or how do you
You like
put
teach
up
it.
with the fact that it's an illusion?
yeah, put up that and also you trying to relate with other people, it's like you just feel like you're a hound because they just don't want to accept it, or they think you're crazy or something like that, Like say for instance, like if you're in school and and say for instance, teacher says something about definition of a dictionary. I was like, how can you call that a dictionary when you look at it, the book is all, definition. It should be called definitionary. Why is it called a dictionary? That doesn't make any sense.
What did it say?
They said, well, just accept it. I'm like, no. And I'm trying to relate to them, but it's like, no, so it just feels like, this guy's kind of crazy.
Well, there's something our master teacher explained about the spell. First of all, understand that English is a spell. Remember recently, even in the update, he was explaining how this country, you have broken English, you have broken French, and you have broken Spanish. There's no real language, and in fact, the people who put this together made it so that it would be hard for you to learn another language. You know what I'm saying? It's done like that on purpose. And the thing about it is you're dealing with people who are seasoned in it, and they have not woken up, or they don't even know they're asleep. How can you wake somebody up who don't think they're asleep? You know what I'm saying? So that could be a very hard thing to do. But you have to learn, as our master teacher has done for over 50 years, he's been very, very patient with us. And the thing about the spell is there's different degrees. You have the spell of amnesia, the spell of sleep, right?
Right.
And what else?
Religion.
Yeah, there's different degrees to the spell. So if somebody is asleep, guess what? I could walk up to them and, hey, wake up. They can wake up. If somebody has amnesia, that means they're forgetful, so I have to remind them of certain things to help them to do what? To wake up to the reality, right? Then there's a coma-like state. If somebody's in a coma, which you may encounter a lot of times, no matter how many times you try to wake them up, they have convinced themselves in their mind that they are in a reality state. So they have to wake up on their own. Exactly. Then you have some people who are totally dead. And there's nothing you can do about them. You know what I'm saying? But that's not for you to judge.
Right.
You know?
No,
And you know
I'm
those
saying
people.
I'm judging.
Oh, I'm not saying you are. I was just explaining that to you, how you have to start to view others,
Right.
our brothers and sisters who are out there, because first understand they are under a spell. And so are we. We're waking up from the spell. This is why the moment you start to wake up, certain realities start to hit. And you want to hurry up and wake the next man up and the next man. Yes, it's your job to do that, because we are all student teachers. You understand?
Yeah.
And each one teaches one. So it's our job to wake our brothers and sisters up. But you have to become seasoned enough to understand how to do a thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say this because, you know, it's like when I first began to teach, I was stumbling like crazy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To the point now it becomes natural. I'm able to look at someone to a certain extent and know what I'm dealing with here, or know the right information to give them. This is why our master teacher, he has walked us into the degrees of the different religions, or the different schools of thoughts, whether it be Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. That way, if we are exposed to a Christian, I know how to speak Bible to you.
Right.
I'm not going to come to a Christian and speak about the all and, you know, Anu and Ray, and they'll look at you like you're the devil from the depths of hell, right?
Yeah.
So if I say and God and Jesus, and I put a little seed of Wu-nuwaupu in there, as our master teacher has been doing for the last 50 years. He has written books on every topic, on every walks of life, you know what I'm saying, to speak to everybody. But guess what? There's a thread of Wu-nuwaupu that's linked to every last one of them. And you have to learn how to analyze a person, know how and when to do it. I'm not saying that that may be the case. You may actually have done that and it doesn't work. So that person may have to wake up on their own, because guess what? The seed has been planted. So if the soil is fertile, it's going to grow in its right season. If the soil is completely depleted of nutrients, then there's nothing you can do about that. You know what I'm saying? Some seeds have to lay there dormant, and some don't. It's interesting because before I got here, I was speaking to a friend of mine about the same thing. You know what I'm saying? The same conversation about that you have to learn how to adapt, as our master teacher has done. Remember years ago he said that you're going to come to a point where you're going to be like me. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm going to look at y'all and laugh, because now you know how it feels to sit here and have to deal with these questions when all along you knew the reality. You know what I'm saying? Remember this. Our master teacher came to us in 1963 with the Wu-nuwaupu. He came with a series of books called, right? What? The Non-Ball series. That's right. The Non-Ball series, which is pure Wu-nuwaup. During that time, the Bible interpretation and explanation, the mechanics of the mind. I mean, things in the 60s that will blow you away. I read it today. This is written in the 1960s.
That's crazy, because I read that today.
Right, and it's blown away. But guess what? It's the same thing as what we're reading now. The difference is it was made for that time.
Right.
For the minds of the people at the time, it was made for that. But we were not ready. We were such a dead state. And one time on the updates, one of the Marsuls spoke about that. How, you know, the thing about it, when they came back, we were so damaged goods. It took time just to bring us back to 1963 again. Here we are in 2014, and we're just now beginning to accept or accolade to this affirmation. You know what I'm saying? And the beauty about it is the generation of children that's growing up now are growing up wanting this. They don't want that, you know, they don't want that stuff no more. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to anybody, but they don't need it. They're like, hey, I want to deal with reality. How do I get to A, B, and C? You know what I'm saying? Because everything else is just a programming. And that's the reality of that particular situation. You know? Okay. And with that answer, I'm going to go ahead and pass the class on to my good brother, Huntwi Sanan Atumraye.
Hotep, Hotep. How you good people doing today? Okay, so I know that the good brother Matt has answered all your questions. So good night. All right. If you have any further questions, you can go ahead. Again, my name is Wu-nuwaupu Atun Reye, a student of the master teacher Panabab Yanun, who has again incarnated in this day and time to resurrect the mentally dead Africans, to resurrect that God gene within us with the spiritual science of Wu-nuwaup. So if you have any questions, go ahead. Go ahead, good brother.
Yeah, when it speaks about Genesis, I think it was 6, when it talked about the 120, limit your days to 120.
Right.
And that was about the Edomites, the Adamite tribe, correct?
Correct.
And how does that relate to the Negroids of the 120 years?
Well, when you're talking about the whole biblical story, again, the master teacher, what he's revealing to us now in this day and time, as he walked us through the various schools of religion, from Islam, right, which came or was bred from Christianity, and Christianity, which was bred from Judaism, and Judaism, which was bred from the Babylonian teachings, which was bred from the Sumerian teachings. What the master teacher explained, when you're talking about Genesis in itself, he said the first 7 chapters coincide with the first 7 chapters of the Enuma Elish, right? What that was explaining, and he goes into it in the what is called the Holy Tablets, which is a scripture that was revealed by the master teacher. Within it, in its introduction, it explained that it was explaining everything that those religious scriptures before were trying to explain but couldn't because it lacked the scientific information. You follow? And now what he's revealing is that really that whole story of Genesis had nothing to do with us and our creation. Remember, we are beings who have no birth record. You follow? We come from beyond the stars. Our beginning didn't originate here on the planet. You follow? We are the planet in itself, life in itself is a continuing cycle. You follow? We as beings who are descendants of the Natharu have no birth record. This is even something that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad explained in his teachings, right? When in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what he taught in the Message to the Black Man, as I said before in class before, which is the book in which the Nation of Islam should be using as a scripture, because it's written in that manner, and they have gotten far away from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In that book, he explained that Adam and Eve were actually the white race. You follow? And then this is what the master teacher is reiterating. Thank you, a little tongue tied there. Thank you. Reiterating that when you're talking about Adam and Eve, or Adam specifically, Adam means red and ruddy, which is making reference to that red ruddy race who were the birth of your Caucasian. Follow? So again, that story going into Genesis chapter 6 had nothing to do with us. It is explaining how certain beings came down and were responsible for mixing their genetics with this newly grafted being called your Adamite. You follow? So that's what that story is explaining. Again, we have no birth record. You follow? This is why the master teacher in teaching in the Holy Tablets explained that our history as far back as he took us in terms of the creation of this galaxy, this solar system, he explained that it went back 76 trillion years. You follow? Which is one of a beginning of a cycle. You follow? That life is a continuous cycle in which the master teacher explained when you look at a circle, the only person who knows the beginning and ending of the circle is the person that drew it or that created it, because the dot is in the center and you walk the entire circumference of it. It has no beginning or end point. Only person who knows the beginning and end of that circle or cycle is the being that drew the circle. So in that cycle of time, there are various different cycles, follow? and we have no birth record. Our beginning, you can't even fathom. And that's what the Master Teacher explained many years ago when he's talking about our creation is this a span of time that was so long that we weren't a thing worth mentioning. But we, as beings, have no birth record. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, what about meditation?
Okay.
Because I've just started meditating and there's so much I have learned since I've been here tonight and it's just very mind-boggling. But
Right.
what about meditation? I mean, when you meditate, you go to a certain level, or is this completely different from what the teaching that I'm hearing tonight?
Well, how much money you got in your pocket? And I can give you the answer.
Well, I'm wealthy.
No, I'm just playing. No, when you're talking about meditation, this is what the Master Teacher explained. When you're dealing with, you have two different, in the religious schools of thought, this is what the Master Teacher explained. He said, you have what you call prayer, and you have what is you call meditation. He said, simply put, the science of prayer is the art of talking without listening. And he said meditation is the art of listening without talking, which is what a lot of part in the religious schools of thought that they miss the meditation part. So they're praying, or they call dhikring, Allah, 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 but they're not stopping to listen to Allah respond. You follow what I'm saying? So within our teachings, we have what is called the ancient Egyptian order, right? And there are certain spiritual sciences that we have to learn, because spirituality, you have to understand, in as far as we're taught, being spiritual is just dealing with stuff you don't see. That's probably is really as far as they take you, what spirituality really is. But what we're really talking about in spirituality is that which is everything really is a condensed form of the spiritual world. Meaning the spiritual world actually goes into the subatomic particles which are bound by energy. You understand that? What the Master Teacher explained is that when you're dealing with the simplest form of matter, you're dealing with an element, right, on a periodic chart. You take hydrogen, for instance. The hydrogen atom, which is the nucleus and the electron that revolves around it, is primarily empty space. You follow? And that various elements, in fact, are what we call our organic life, is basically composed of only primarily 6 elements: hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. You follow? That's basically the basic elements in mostly all organic matter. You follow? So from those simple elements that are put together, that's the combination of your physical world. But those elements, which are composed of small subatomic particles which are held together by energy or ether, that which composes your physical world. Right. Now I'm reading this from the Wu-nuwaupian Istalat meditation, right? It says, I'm reading from the beginning. Good question, Wu-nuwaupian. Let's start from the beginning. The question is, what is meditation? It says, good question, Wu-nuwaupian. Meditation may denote contemplation on a powerful communion with Hu, the source of the universe. The Sumerians and Egyptians practiced meditation. The word meditation in Nuwapic is istatlat, often referred to Wu-nuwaup as talat, meaning meditating. As a cosmosan, you will learn to talat, meditate, in the Western world has many different meanings. It may mean deep or sustained thinking or attention upon an idea or problem. It may signify a state of uninterrupted silence or solitude, or a state of profound tranquility. To some Westerners, meditation is a very mysterious and mystical thing which has been brought from the exotic Orient to the West by a few Westerners or Orientals. Some people think of it as an absolute useless pastime. Moreover, the current phrase, transcendental meditation, seems to be a simultaneously confusing, vaguely interesting, and tantalizingly simple. When you try to explore in depth the meaning of the word meditation, you realize that it covers a wide area of activities of inner life. It is indeed a sustained thinking and attention, silence and solitude, peace and tranquility, contemplation and powerful communion. Yet, it is much more that these states and functions of the mind. It is a lucid state of deep awareness in which profound peace and wisdom abide simultaneously. It is a process through which the mind becomes unwinded and then transcends itself and enter into higher consciousness. Meditation establishes a living link of mortals with its vast inner realities, which is hidden and formatted in normal conditions of the mind. A truly successful meditation brings about an integration of normal consciousness with its higher counterpart. Right? And also within meditation, one of the things that you learn, which is very important, is the art of concentration. You follow? Which is something that this world has a concentrated effort in getting you not to do. You follow? With all the various distractions, right? And this is one thing, this is a simple, what the master teacher has given us in terms of dealing with concentration. He said that the reality is that an idle mind is the devil's playground. You follow? So what he explained it as that we should get a hobby or craft that deals with using the hands, where you are concentrating on that activity, and with that concentration, you don't allow the devil to influence your mind. Because you have to realize that we are bombarded with different thoughts, ideologies, energies, different things on a daily basis, right? One of the things I like to mention is that our master teacher has given us a prescription to cure our sickness. And that sickness is mainly brought about the Western world, European society, which is really taught us to be out of our minds. You follow? There's a concentrated effort to make you really in the image and the after the likeness of a Caucasian. That's what America is designed to do. The American way, the American dream, is to make you a Caucasian. And really to make you an alternative food source, which is a whole nother bill, right? But in that effort to make you in that image and likeness of the Caucasian, you are taken outside of yourself. Well, you put it this way simply. This is one of the important factors of our language, because if you look at the reality of you as a being who was descended from Africa, correct? Right? Or Africa or Native America or some indigenous part of this world where our people are from, but yet your native language is English, so therefore you're literally out of your mind because you think in English. Simply put, you think in the tone, the ideas of an Englishman. That is not you. You follow? So in all of this concentrated effort to get you outside of yourself, the devil is in you. He's in your thoughts, and he's also in your genes. Because we are mixed. Right? The devil is in our genes. So, like I was saying before, the master teacher has given us a prescription in order to cure ourselves of the devil. You follow? But the problem is, we take very little doses of the medicine, and we take more of the poison, which is this world. So the question is, if we are in this world and we take very little of this and so much more of that, what do you think happens? What do you think takes over? What gene do you think develops? Because this is your body is simply this. Your body is a code based on a genetic code, DNA. And DNA responds to whatever information it gets. It transforms, it's constantly metamorphosizing based on the information that it gets, whether that information is light, sound, chemical, energy, you follow? It constantly molds and shapes itself. So the human body, as the master teacher, this is something simple. He explained that when a child is conceived, during the first 6 to 16 weeks, it has no gender. It only develops physical gender based on the chemicals that are present. So ultimately, that it's the same, but the chemicals make it develop into a male or makes it develop into a female physically. The same happens in different aspects of your being. Again, we know that the devil's genes are in us. So if we do things of the devil, if we do things of this world, those genes become more prominent. Simply put. So we have to give our prescription in order to combat those genes to make those God genes develop. You follow? So back to the point, in concentration, you are allowing a portion of you to develop and not be influenced by the devil. Physically, as well as you're developing a different part of your mind with that concentration. You follow? The devil can't get in. He doesn't like concentration. He likes distraction. He likes to bombard your thoughts with different ideas. He likes that quote-unquote multiple choice, which the master teacher really explained is no choice at all. You follow? So that meditation is a science that you learn within our mystical schools, that which go much further in depth into it. And you learn the science of concentration. You learn how to still the mind. You learn how to stop all of those different waves and thoughts. And because it also ties into the science of genetic kiss. And in the science of genetic kiss, what the master teacher explained is that you as a being are a composite of your ancestry, which goes back 4 generations, meaning your mother, your father, their mother and father, all the way to the 4th generation, which are different, not just different beings, but different spirits and different personalities that exist within you. You follow? And those voices speak to you. This is why you be walking down the street all of a sudden and you have this thought in your head that you have no idea where it comes from. You know what I'm saying? You have a thought, well, dang, I don't want a Philly cheesesteak. Where did that come from? You follow? These are different thoughts that pop in your head because of the different ancestors. Some of them who work for you, some of them who work against you. There's some who actually want to stop your development because if you develop, then they can't partake of this physical world. Through you,
Right.
exactly. So they're ancestors that stop you to try to stop your development into being a god, into developing that God gene. They want you to be more. They want you to be physical.
So that's why if you got genes born inside of you, it's continuous. They're not really able to help transcend you because there is an internal war inside of you, basically.
Exactly. Right. There is a war inside of you that where you have to get back to that one voice. You follow? You have different voices that speak to you. This is what the master teacher explained about what they call mental illness, right? Because in mental illness, the basis of most mental illness, they say, is someone hearing voices, right?
Personality disorders. What about that?
Right. They say a person hearing voices, right? They won't tell you where the voices come from, right?
Right.
But they'll give you the exact medication to stop them. Think of that, right? So, and the reality